Think about your biggest goal right now, the one you just keep pushing off. What if I told you that the greatest barrier standing between you and that dream isn't some massive, insurmountable wall? It's really not a lack of talent. It's not a lack of opportunity. And, it certainly isn't a lack of money. It's simply the number 2. Because the honest truth is, most dreams don't die from epic failures or spectacular crashes. No, they die a quiet death from a simple matter of delay.
They die from us saying those 4 incredibly dangerous words. I'll do it later, or I'll start tomorrow. I'll get to it when I have just a little bit more time, right? We convince ourselves that we're just waiting for the perfect moment. But the biggest obstacle isn't any of those massive life factors we usually like to blame. It's literally just 2 minutes. So what if there was a completely foolproof rule that could shatter this endless cycle of delay forever? A framework so incredibly powerful that it could help you stop procrastinating, build rock-solid habits, and take total control of your life?
Well, welcome to today's Explainer, where we're unpacking a phenomenal concept, the 2-minute rule, the power of starting small. We're going to explore how one incredibly small, seemingly insignificant decision has the power to change absolutely everything. Part 1, the garage of excuses. Let's look at one guy's hidden battle. Meet Jason Miller. He's 29, just your average guy living out in Denver, but he's fighting an invisible battle with procrastination. His unfinished tasks are constantly piling up. There's the email he needed to send, the workout he promised himself he'd start, the book he wanted to read, that lingering business idea. Day after day, Jason tells himself, I'll do it later. But of course, later never actually comes. Think of these avoided tasks accumulating like heavy physical cardboard boxes in a cramped, dark garage. The more boxes that pile up, the heavier the emotional weight feels. And the heavier it feels, well, the more he avoids walking into that garage entirely. It is a vicious cycle. The key takeaway here is that Jason wasn't just lazy, he was completely paralyzed by feeling overwhelmed. Part 2, discovering the simple rule. Searching for answers. That overwhelming feeling eventually brought Jason to a breaking point. One evening, after ignoring yet another important project, Jason is sitting alone in his messy apartment, feeling just utterly defeated. He is at his absolute lowest point, desperate for a real solution. He definitely doesn't want another overly complex productivity system. He just wants a way out of the paralysis. So he opens his laptop, the glow of the screen illuminating his exhausted face, and he types this exact question into the search bar. How do successful people stop procrastinating? Among the thousands of overly complicated articles and guru courses, one search result lights up and catches his eye. The concept is so laughably simple that his immediate reaction is there's literally no way something this basic can actually work. But out of pure desperation, he decides to give it a shot anyway. So here is the rule itself, and it has 2 really simple parts. First, if a task takes less than 2 minutes to complete, do it immediately, right then and there. Second, if you are trying to build a brand new habit, you must make the very first step take less than 2 minutes to do. And that is it. There are no expensive masterclasses, no convoluted tracking apps, no magic tricks. Just 2 minutes. Part 3, the small wins snowball. Because knowing a rule is one thing, but applying it is where the magic actually happens. Let's look at Jason's very first morning actively putting this into practice. He decides to replace his usual, deeply ingrained habit of hitting the snooze button 3 or 4 times with immediate micro-action. Get a load of this sequence of rapid-fire victories. Step 1, the 5 a.m. alarm goes off. Instead of snoozing, he realizes getting out of bed takes less than 2 minutes. He stands up. Boom, small win. Step 2, he walks into the kitchen and sees a pile of dishes in the sink. Normally, that's a tomorrow problem, but washing just a couple of them takes less than 2 minutes. He does it. Boom, another small win. Step 3, the absolute biggest hurdle, exercise. He's failed at starting a workout routine for years. This time, he doesn't commit to a grueling hour-long session. He just commits to putting his gym shoes on his feet. Less than 2 minutes, check. Do you notice how each tiny action creates a spark of momentum for the next? This brilliantly illustrates the entire philosophy behind the rule. You can shrink literally any ambitious, intimidating goal into a 2-minute action. You want to read a whole book? Just read one single page. You want to save a significant amount of money? Open your app and transfer $1. Want to become a master meditator? Sit quietly for 2 minutes. By radically shrinking massive high-friction goals into tiny, low-friction actions, you completely bypass the brain's natural resistance to starting. You aren't trying to finish the marathon. You are just tying your shoelaces. Because here's the profound truth that Jason discovered. Starting is the hardest part. Most people don't struggle because the tasks themselves are physically or mentally impossible. They struggle because the act of initiating the task feels impossible. But think about what happened to Jason with those gym shoes. Once the shoes were on, suddenly stepping outside for a short walk felt incredibly easy. The walk naturally turned into a light jog, the jog seamlessly transitioned into a full workout. The moment you take action, that heavy mental resistance just evaporates. The snowball is finally rolling down the hill.
Part 4. The power of consistency. Let's see what happens when you let that snowball roll for a while.
See, Jason didn't just use this rule for a day or a week. He applied it relentlessly to every single area of his life, compounding these tiny actions over the course of half a year. And the contrast is undeniable. Before, Jason was stuck in a messy apartment, stagnant and overwhelmed. But 6 months later, his space is clean, his bookshelf is completely full, and he is visibly fit and confident. He's operating with remarkably low stress. And the kicker? He didn't achieve this by suddenly finding a magical well of motivation. He achieved it because he stopped waiting to feel motivated, and he learned to simply act first. Around this time, Jason actually meets his grandfather for a warm lunch at a local restaurant. His grandfather looks at him, notices the undeniable shift in his demeanor, and says, "You seem different, happier." Jason enthusiastically explains the 2-minute rule. His grandfather listens, nods, and delivers this profound piece of wisdom. Most people think success comes from giant, dramatic decisions. They think life changes when they make one huge move. But that's rarely true. Life usually changes because of small actions repeated consistently. True success is built quietly, in ordinary moments, by choosing action over excuses.
Part 5, focus on starting. Those words really became the foundation of Jason's new life. Let's jump forward 10 years. Jason is now 39 years old. He is standing triumphantly on a stage, speaking to a crowd of eager young entrepreneurs. A student in the audience raises their hand and asks the simple question, "What is the most important lesson you've ever learned?" Jason pauses, looks out at the crowd, and gives them this exact quote, "Don't focus on finishing, focus on starting." At first, the audience looks a bit confused. I mean, we're always taught to keep our eyes on the prize, right? To visualize the finish line. But Jason explains that most people spend their entire lives sitting in the locker room, waiting until they feel ready to play the game. The highly successful people you admire aren't necessarily smarter or more talented than you. They've just mastered the art of beginning. Here is exactly how this builds psychologically, the ultimate blueprint. It all begins with step 1, action. That tiny, less than 2-minute push. That action instantly generates step 2, momentum. You're moving, the friction is gone. Sustained momentum inevitably leads to step 3, progress. You start seeing real, tangible results. And when progress compounds over time, you arrive at step 4, transformation. A complete shift in who you are and what you're capable of. It is a precise, unbreakable chain reaction that starts with the smallest possible domino. Which brings us to our final thought for this explainer. The biggest door in your life, the one hiding your absolute greatest potential, might not require you to kick it down with superhuman strength. It might only require a tiny, gentle push, a single phone call, writing one sentence, tying one pair of shoes. If a goal feels crushing and overwhelming, shrink it down. Shrink it until it takes less than 2 minutes, and then start anyway. The difference between the life you have right now and the life you desperately want may be only 2 minutes away. So what is the one 2-minute action you're going to take right now to change your trajectory?